What's up, guys? We got a collab episode today. Harrison Graham of Bears Now. That is Marshall Green of Giants Now. The OG sub for dubs combo right here. You guys know the drill. Both channels, you know us both. This has been circulating really since the trade deadline. DJ Moore to the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeaux to the Bears. It's kind of re-entered the atmosphere for both teams, as the Giants could use another receiver for Jackson Dart. Kayvon Thibodeaux would help the Bears' pass rushing situation. So, Marshall, we're back once again, and I think this could make sense for both teams.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this one. I thought you laid it out well. Both these players going to other teams, I think, would fill some needs. I'm excited to talk about it. Let's have the real one sound off first, though. I want everyone to get down in the comments section and let me know if the Giants traded Kayvon Thibodeaux to the Bears and the Bears sent DJ Moore to the Giants, who would win this trade? Type CHI for the Bears and NYG for the Giants.
All right, we're going to break this down from all angles here, as this video will go on both of our channels, by the way. So, you want to chirp the opposing fan base, you can do that down in the comment section as well. Let's just kind of reset the table here, Marshall. So both teams enter the offseason. Obviously, the Bears coming off their best season in a while. Giants, new head coach, John Harbaugh.
Still not over that game.
Yeah, that was quite the game. Jackson Dart gets knocked out, and shocker, Russell Wilson couldn't seal the deal. But I do think there's exciting times ahead for both teams. And clearly from the Giants, we could start from your angle first. You got Malik Neighbors coming off this injury. You hope to get him back by week 1 or at least by late September, but don't really have that secondary playmaker, whereas the Bears, they have Luther Burden, they have Rome Odunze, they have Colson Loveland, still have Cole Kmet. DJ Moore to New York kind of feels like a perfect fit, especially with the unknown of Wan'Dale Robinson in terms of if they're going to bring him back or not.
Yeah, that'll be the first domino to fall. Will the Giants be priced out of the Wan'Dale Robinson sweepstakes? I mean, Harrison, we're seeing contract projections up to $21 million annually for Wan'Dale. And look, I think he's a good player. My only thing to say in a negative light is he's a little bit of a limited player. At 5'8", only really operates out of the slot. Showed he could play a little bit outside this year, but I almost look at that as it had to happen because Malik Neighbors was hurt and Darius Slayton could hold on to the football. The Giants have to make a move at the receiver spot. You cannot go into the 2026 campaign with John Harbaugh and have Darius Slayton as your wide receiver too. And if you do, you're not going to be a very good offense. And that's why I think DJ Moore, and I'm sure Bears fans know why he could be traded. I'm sure they're also pretty sentimental about some big-time catches against the Cheeseheads. But DJ Moore, or any wide receiver of this caliber, I think needs to be a priority for the Giants. Like, if they don't draft Cardell Tate or Tyson at number 5, or they don't look to maybe trade back into the first round, they have to make a major move at receiver.
Yeah, and I like the fit for DJ in New York, and we've talked about this on Bears Now. This is not a I don't like DJ Moore thing, because I've been in the camp of I would probably trade him rather than doing a restructure. We'll get into the cap part of this as we go. It's more of, hey, you've kind of got this abundance of receivers now. You've got Luther Burden, who really came on the second half of the year. Rome Odunze, before his foot injury, was having a good second year. I expect him to have a big third season. Colston Loveland already feels like one of the best receiving tight ends in the NFL. It's like, does your third or fourth pass catcher making $28 million per year make sense? Probably not, especially when you were 31st in pass rush win rate and you need pass rushers. So that's why we've kind of discussed the Kayvon Thibodeaux angle of this, which we'll get to as well. But if you're the Giants, DJ Moore is a guy who can do some different things. You can manufacture touches for him, screens. You could do jet sweeps. He runs digs well. He's not going to run the full tree, but he can operate in the slot. He can play on the outside. He's a tough player, played through a lot of stuff this year for the Bears, so he's going to give you some of that toughness. And we'll see what Matt Nagy, former Bears head coach and play caller, does from a schematical standpoint. But I think DJ can give Jackson Dart a QB-friendly weapon, especially to your point that we were talking about off-air, Marsh. If Neighbors isn't ready to start the year and he's going to miss all the offseason program, you get a DJ Moore in there that can kind of just lead that room and kind of be a tone setter. I do think that makes a lot of sense.
And I kind of want the Giants to follow a similar model that the Chicago Bears did. Once they got Caleb Williams, you guys know it, first-round pick. Made a big-time trade, for DJ Moore. Then another first-round pick on Rome Odunze. Use another first-round pick on Colston Loveland. Then a second-round pick on Luther Burden. You want to surround your young quarterback with weapons. I also love what the Chicago Bears did by investing in the offensive line. You got to maximize these rookie quarterback windows. And with Jackson Dart entering year 2, the time to start winning games is now. Like John Harbaugh at 63 years old, he didn't come here to sit on his hands and win in 3 years or 4 years. The Giants are trying to win games this year, and adding a guy like DJ Moore, I think, would be a first strong step in kind of this retooling and reshaping of the Giants in a Harbaugh vision.
Let's talk about the financials of DJ, then we'll kind of take a quick break, pay some bills around here, and then we'll get to the Kayvon Thibodeaux side of this for the Bears. But right now, these are DJ Moore's cap hits for Chicago. This is if he is not traded. $28.5 million the next 3 years. He only has guaranteed money through this year, though. So the way Ryan Pohl structured this was smart. He gave him a 4-year extension 2 years ago with 2 years left on his deal. So yeah, there's still 4 years left. But even this year, you can save $16.5 million, and then it jumps up from there. You see that bottom note, though, Marshall. If he's traded, the team trading for him would inherit a $24.3 million cap hit. So not a small number, but the flexibility built into the contract, if the Giants needed to restructure him and be like, hey, we think he's going to be here for at least 2 years, you could do a restructure, lower that cap hit if you wanted to for this year, and be flexible to make other additions, a free agency, another trade, whatever the case may be. So the way his contract is set up, there is a lot of flexibility. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, or if they just wanted to pivot after this year, you can cut him with pretty minimal penalty. If you cut him after next year, you save $20 million, and it's only an $8 million dead cap hit. So that's not some untenable number for either the Bears or the Giants, depending on where he's going to be. So I do think that even though there's a lot of money from a cap hit standpoint on this contract, it's not a contract that is like doom and gloom. You can pivot pretty easily after each and every season.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, the Giants, and I believe DJ Moore is a good football player.
Agreed.
And I think you just have to go back. I know Carolina was a different situation, but he's had some big games for the Bears. What was it, 250 yards against the Washington Commanders?
230,
Yeah, had 3 touchdowns in that game, made some big-time catches. I think he fits as well into what the Giants want to do. We've seen them through this Joe Shane era target players at the receiver position that can make plays with the ball in their hands. And DJ Moore was one of the best yak guys in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. One question that I have for you, Harrison, about DJ is, I've already kind of floated some ideas about DJ to the Giants, and some people have pushed back. Marshall, we don't need a guy that quits on routes. We don't need a guy that wasn't really in cahoots with his quarterback. What would you say to Giants fans that feel that way? And if it is the truth, I'm curious.
I would say that was a story in 2024. I also think there was a lot going on with the Bears that year. I don't think Matt Eberflus was a head coach people gravitated toward. The word of that season was accountability, and the lack of it, starting at the top with the head coach. Shane Waldron is kind of he's not really an extrovert. He was kind of an introvert, so that was not a guy the offense could lean on. There were reports 2 weeks into the season that some of the veteran players, Keenan Allen, who was on the team at the time, Mercedes Lewis, literally had to sit down with Shane Waldron and say, coach us harder. So, yeah. And I think those type of things lingered. I also think, Caleb Williams didn't know what he didn't know, right? Like coming into the NFL, he hadn't seen much adversity. I think there was probably that first year, and there was leaks about this, that him and DJ didn't vibe at first. I think this year, and there were some effort things that would pop up on tape, and you're like, do I know what I'm seeing? It kind of feels like that he quit on that play. I think that was a bigger story in 24 than in 25. Now, I do think on occasion there will be times where there's lazy in the details. Like, I'll just point to the playoff game for an example. Caleb Williams thinks DJ Moore is going to flatten that route out in the overtime pass downfield. He kind of drifts upfield, and the safety picks it off. Now, everybody was what's the word? Like, no one placed blame afterward, but I think that's one of those classic, like, DJ, maybe it was more of a corner route, but like didn't leverage the route properly. But I think if you just watch where Caleb threw the ball, it was kind of obvious where the space was in the route. So I do think there will be frustrating moments like, yeah, you just didn't feel that out rightly. And I don't think he's the most natural, like, route running feel player. I think he's like a get me the ball and I'll make shit happen type of player. I've always compared him to a juiced up Deebo Samuel because he's a little quicker than Deebo, has more speed than Deebo. He's tough like Deebo. He's good after the catch like Deebo. And I think he's a slightly better overall route runner, but at times he will be frustrating. I think at this point in his career, and I'll leave Giants fans with this, I think he's a really, really good number 2 receiver. I don't think he's a 1, but you don't need a 1. Once Neighbors is back and healthy, he's a true 1. DJ is a QB-friendly 2 that can do some different things. So if the Giants feel like they don't want to pay Kayvon Thibodeaux and they're cool with a swap like this, I do think it could be a win-win for both parties.
Do you think that, and we'll talk about Kayvon coming up in a second, last question. Do you think that if there is a trade that goes down and DJ not having any more guaranteed money after the 2026 season, could that contract just be ripped up and it could be a new contract with the New York Giants? You see that sometimes. I'm just curious from the player perspective, you probably want more guaranteed money on the deal, and I don't know if the Giants want to pay a wide receiver to $24.5 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably depend. How does next year go? Does he vibe with Dart, with Neighbors, or the Giants? You know, is the arrow clearly pointing up? I think those are all questions that we'd have to see play out over the next 12 months. But I think it could be possible. You see that all the time. We're like, hey, you got 3 years and 75 left, but none of it's guaranteed. How about a new 3 for $60 contract with 40 guaranteed or something like that? Like, I think that's possible because after this year he'd be 30. He'll be 29 this upcoming season, so still relatively young. Feels like he's been in the NFL forever. He was a young player out of Maryland when he declared, but he's already played, I think, 8 NFL seasons. So
4,000-yard seasons. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, he's had this funky career because this is the first year in his career he had not had a winning season playing football since high school.
That's
never a winning record at Maryland, never a winning record with Carolina. First 2 years with the Bears, they stunk. And so this year, it was kind of weird. Like, his production dipped, but they won a lot. So, and he had some big moments. So I think he's a polarizing player among Bears fans because at times he leaves you wanting more. But again, it's simple from a Bears perspective for me. He's a good player that makes more than what he produces at this point for the way this team is built. They need a pass rusher. They've got Burden. They've got Rome. Giants need another receiver. So, again, I think it could be a win-win. And, I think you approach it from a New York standpoint, kind of like you would if you kept Kayvon Thibodeaux. Let's just play this year out, see what happens. If he fits, cool. Let's try to work something out where we can keep him for another couple of years on a multi-year new contract. If not, maybe you trade him for a late pick or whatever, like we discussed earlier with the flexibility in the contract. But I do think he could help a young team trying to turn the corner quickly, like he was able to do some here in Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. Question is, what does the trade look like? We showed a swap. Do the Bears maybe think the Giants need to add more? Do the Giants think the Bears need to have more? We'll talk about Kayvon in a second. Harrison, you want to tell everybody about PrizePicks?
Yeah, we'll get to the Kayvon Thibodeaux side of this momentarily, but PrizePicks, we appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting, so don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Football might be over, but we're just getting started on PrizePicks as the hoops action is heating up. Just pick more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 player lineups, regardless of sport, and you are good to go. We're talking points, rebounds, assists, baseball season-long projections. We'll have football season-long projections available soon as well. Here's an example of what a lineup looks like, depending on when you're watching this. These games may have already played, but just an example. Took more on James Harden's points and then took less on Jalen Johnson's points. $20 lineup to win $60, just 3x on that simple 2-player lineup. So what are you waiting for? Get started. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Check it out. Description in both description and comments of this video. All right. We'll flip it now as we've kind of just laid the landscape for DJ Moore. So Kayvon Thibodeaux, again, I've been asked about him before. He was a guy at the trade deadline, Marsh. It felt like there was a chance The Giants could trade him, but they did not. I don't know what type of offers they may have gotten at the deadline. I know the part of the thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, was like, hey, like he's part of the identity of our team, this defensive line with we just drafted Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeaux. We're not going to move him just to move him. But now, new head coach in there, he's on his fifth-year option now. So it's kind of like, you either think he's part of the future or you don't. You could certainly play it out this year if you're the Giants, but explain to Bears fans at this point, Marshall, like where you see Kayvon as a player. 4 years in, not a lot is probably going to change at this point in terms of how good he can be. Doesn't mean he can't improve, but he's probably not going to turn into Will Anderson Jr. next year.
Especially if he's with the Giants, I don't see that happening. The Kayvon thing is so tricky because he was drafted by Joe Schoen. And now it's a John Harbaugh operation. I think that's pretty clear with the New York Giants. But it's been well documented. The Giants were accepting calls on Kayvon Thibodeaux during the 2025 NFL Draft because they knew they were taking Abdul Carter at number 3. They did that. They played out the first part of the season. I actually thought Kayvon was pretty good at the start of 2025. I thought there was some growth. I thought he played with a lot more power, kind of known as a finesse player. I thought he was a much better edge setter as well. But you're paying Brian Burns $30 million. Abdul Carter was just made a priority pick and number 3 overall selection. He makes a good bit of money too. Are the Giants going to bring back Kayvon Thibodeaux at a big number? And I think you also have to question, does Kayvon Thibodeaux get a big number of salary? I'm attached to him because he was the first pick of the Joe Schoen era. He was the number 5 overall pick. And quite frankly, Harrison, he just hasn't lived up to that. I wouldn't say he's a bust of a player. I think that's a little bit too harsh. But if we were comparing it to baseball, the Giants kind of like a stand-up double. Like it wasn't a home run, it wasn't a triple, a solid pick, leaving you wanting a little bit more. So now you get to the point of, does John Harbaugh view Kayvon Thibodeaux as a big piece in this? And then what does a trade look like? Bill Barnwell put out an article on ESPN. He mentioned a 4th-round pick for Kayvon. For me, I wouldn't do that because I would rather just have him for the 2026 season. If he plays well, we'll negotiate a contract, or he leaves in free agency, and I think if he plays well, you'll get a 4th-round pick kind of floated your way in the compensatory selection. I like Kayvon Thibodeaux. I'm not sure I love Kayvon Thibodeaux as a player. I'm hoping and wanting him to take that next step. We saw some signs, but also some injury concerns as well. He's missed multiple games in 3 of his 4 seasons in the NFL. I still think there is a way where he can become a starting edge on a good defense. Had that 11.5 sack season in 2023, which was a little bit of fool's gold. But 32 pressures in 10 games, probably the best game-to-pressure ratio he's had this year. I mean, I wouldn't say you want to pay Kayvon $20 million per year, but does a 3-year, $45 million deal to be edge 2 make sense? I think it could.
Yeah, I kind of look at him, and again, from a outsider's perspective of like, he was what, the 5th pick, 7th pick? Because that was the year they drafted him and Evan Neal.
What a draft.
I couldn't remember which one they drafted him first, right?
Yeah, Kayvon first.
Then Neal, okay. I say this about Trayvon Walker. If Trayvon Walker was the 23rd pick, you'd be like, oh, it's a pretty good pick. Yep. I mean, like, he's not great, but he's a good player. If Kayvon Thibodeaux was the 22nd pick and not the 5th pick, you'd be like, okay, he hasn't blown us away, but like, I'd give him a second contract at the right price. Yep. Like, I think it's very similar there. And so I kind of view this, if this were to happen, if they did this type of swap, or if, say, the Bears traded a 4th or even a 3rd for him, is like, I probably would not sprint to an extension. I would probably play this year out and just see what happens, because I do think, based on what I've seen at this point in his career, I think on a good defensive line, he's your second edge rusher, where he sets the edge pretty well in the run game. He's kind of a streaky pass rusher. Yep. At times, he can kind of dominate, and then he can also disappear at times. He kind of reminds me as like a slightly lesser Montez Sweat, where Sweat's been a good player for the Bears. He was good in Washington. But I always say this, if he's your second dude on your defensive line, you're feeling really good about that. You're asking him to be your top guy. You double him, you can kind of take him out of a game. But if he gets a lot of one-on-one looks, like all of a sudden you go up against an average tackle, Montez Sweat may have 6 pressures in a game, right? Like I think that the same can be said for a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux. So It's very interesting. I know early on in his career, and there might have even been chatter when he was coming out of Oregon about does he love football? Like, has that lingered into his Giants career at all? What would you say to those potential concerns?
It's so hard to say because he plays with a lot of effort, and he's not a player that you go back and watch a film and it's like, Kayvon took 7 plays off today. You don't really get that. And I remember there was one play his rookie year that really stood out to me. It was a long run up the left sideline. He's the opposite edge, and he tracks him down, probably running 65 yards on the play and makes a touchdown-saving tackle. The thing with Kayvon to me is like, it's very similar to the Bears and DJ Moore. You have Luther Burden. You have Colston Loveland. You have Rome Odunze. You have Brian Burns. You have Abdul Carter. You have Chauncey Golston, who you gave decent money to be an edge 3 last year. And just like, can the Giants take an abundance of wealth that they have at one position and cash that in to reinforce a position of need? It's not like I am begging for the Giants to just get rid of Kayvon Thibodeaux. I'd like to have an edge room that looks like this next year. But if I have an edge room like this, does it prohibit me from making another move? And with the Giants being limited on premium picks, Harrison, only 2 inside the top 104 this year, they need to get creative about how they're going to add talented players to this team. And if you're trying to build a team around a young quarterback, I don't think you're going to have much confidence in a group that is, I know Malik Neighbors is special. We all know that. But Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, and Bo Collins with potentially Wan'Dale Robinson leaving.
Yeah, I think you made a great point earlier. Is like the Giants need to do what the Bears just did. It's like load up around Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
What did the Bears do last year when Ben Johnson got on board? Hey, let's trade. We want Trey Smith. Okay, the Chiefs tagged him. Well, they can't pay Joe Tooney as well. Let's go trade for him. 4th-round pick. Great value trade. One protector of the year. He's still a very good player. Jonah Jackson. Rams try to make him a center. It's not really a fit. Well, Ben Johnson worked with him in Detroit. Let's buy low on him. 6th-round pick. One of the better guards in the NFL this season. You pay Drew Dahlman, get a decent price tag on him, $14 million a year. Darnell Wright, one of Ryan Pohl's better draft picks, became a second-team All-Pro. So, okay, offensive line in good shape. We'll see what happens at left tackle moving forward because Ozzie Trapillo had a nasty injury this year, but you draft him in the 2nd round as well. Played pretty well before he suffered the injury. We talked about Loveland, Burden. You've got Rome. And so now, like for the Bears, it's like, again, to your point with Thibodeaux, it's like we like him from a Bears. I like DJ Moore, but like I think you got enough there, and you could just draft a receiver in like the 4th or 5th round to come compete for that 3rd role, right? Like, or you could sign a free agent. You could bring back Olamide Zaccheaus. Like, you've got options there. If I'm the Giants, I want to load up around Jackson Dart. I want to probably re-sign Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle or get someone similar to feel good about that. I want to get him another weapon. I probably want to draft another weapon too at some point. Yep. So, that's why like I look at the Titans. I'm like, why did you hire Robert Saleh? Like, give Cam Ward the best chance. So I think the Bears kind of laid the blueprint for what these other teams should do in turn, which is crazy to say, by the way, but just like, hey, like if you're going to invest in a quarterback and take advantage of this rookie window, like, don't you want to give him as much as you can on these like 2 and 3 year contracts? And again, DJ Moore to the Giants, flexible contract. If Jackson Dart in 2 years is clearly a guy you're going to pay, and DJ Moore's 31 years old and you have to dump him, you can dump him. Like it's a win-win. So I just know this from a Bears perspective. Their next step, if they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, is you have to go get the quarterback. And they couldn't get the quarterback this year. They were 2nd worst team in the NFL in pass rush win rate. I'm not saying Thibodeaux drastically changes that, but if you're already looking to dump DJ Moore potentially, and the Giants are okay dumping Kayvon Thibodeaux, maybe that's a win-win, kind of a trial for both teams. And who knows, maybe 2 years from now, like they've both been extended by each team. So
you only have so many resources to build a team. And with the Bears having so many spent on the offensive side of the ball and the Giants having so many spent on the defensive line, can you better spread out and diversify your portfolio, to say it in another term, to better the football team? Like, I like Kayvon Thibodeaux. I'm always going to have love for Kayvon Thibodeaux. He was the first pick the Giants made when I was able to cover them here at Chat Sports. I'm always going to be connected with him. And he's had some big-time moments. That first game against, or the second game against the Washington Commanders, where he essentially clinched the Giants a playoff spot in that first year. He dominated the Cowboys on Thanksgiving before. He's had some awesome moments. But in the long term, are the Giants going to have Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeaux? And if they are, that probably tells me that Abdul Carter hasn't lived up to the hype, because I want him playing 95% of the snaps if he's the real deal.
That, or a year from now, they traded Brian Burns. That's the only other thing I can think. I'll add this, too, from a Giants perspective. Pretty deep edge draft. You could draft some guy in like the 4th round to throw into that rotation. He's not going to be Kayvon Thibodeaux this year probably, but guy who can develop and be a rotation piece. So, and I'll say this about DJ Moore as well. Some of the craziest moments of the NFL season. You watch these top 10 plays of the NFL season. DJ Moore's got 2 of the 10. He delivered some iconic moments this year. You mentioned that 230-yard game against Washington a couple years ago. That was the day.
Was that with Fields?
Yes, might have been Fields' best game ever. That was the night Dick Butkus died, so that was a cool night. So, I don't want to discount any of those things, but, I don't want to make decisions emotionally either if I'm running a football team. What is best for the short and long term of this franchise? I'm not saying DJ Moore can't be here for this year and help this team. Marshall's not saying Kayvon Thibodeaux can't be here and help the Giants. But if you could do something that helps what you need more in the short term and long term, that's part of being a GM, baby. That's part of running a football team. I've said this a million times. DJ Moore's a good player. I don't think he makes sense at a $28.5 million cap hit for the Chicago Bears. Getting pass rush help does. A 1-for-1 swap here. Could this make sense for both teams? It's been rumored before. Maybe some discussions happen at the NFL Combine this next week, which, by the way, our guy Marshall Green will be out there. So, you might hear a whisper or two and pass that along. So make sure you guys are subscribed to both of our channels. Marsh, this was a lot of fun. Yeah. If you guys want more collabs in the future, that makes sense. If there's more Giants Bears stuff or with other Chat Sports hosts, leave a comment. Let us know down below. But Marsh going to have you guys covered on Giants. Subscribe over there. Me on Bears. We do it every single day.
Do you do the trade?
I think I would, yeah. I would trade, but I wouldn't extend unless it's team friendly. I'd play this year out.
I would love to try and get a 5th-round pick as well coming back the Giants' way. Beggars can't be choosers. But
could happen because of the contract. One other thing I'd add is maybe the Bears would eat some of the cash flow.
Yeah, and that could maybe higher the price of the trade. If you were to tell me that the Bears take on $8 million this year and $4 million next year, that makes me a little bit more excited. Again, I'm not rushing to trade Kayvon, and I would gauge the market to see which team has the most interest in him.
Maybe the Bears eat half the remaining guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Something like that could certainly be a possibility. So we'll see what happens. We'll be here to cover it. If anything goes down, you know where to find us. See you guys soon, and have a great weekend, everybody.